Hey, boys and girls, we're going to work on our fact file notes for lesson 4 now that you've listened to the read aloud. So open your fact files to lesson 4, which is the Olympics. All right, so we're going to start here with some information. So the Olympics was a Greek sports contest started to honor the chief deity Zeus. All right, so we're going to go in here and we're going to write in this first blank, the king of the gods was Zeus. So Greek. Oh, I'm sorry. In here first, we're going to write a Greek sports contest. Forgot we had to. Contest. So sports contest. Started to honor the chief deity, and we're going to capitalize his name, Zeus. All right, our next one is the ancient Olympics were held in the city-state of Olympia. So I'm going to show you a map here. So here, like we had our map that we glued in earlier, this is Olympia right here on this big island. So that is the answer to the next note, which is Olympia. The ancient Olympics were held in the city-state of Olympia. So we've heard about Sparta now and Olympia. While you're doing that, I'm going to remind you there is this map here, and there is Olympia. That's what we're talking about. And then there's Sparta. So Olympia was one of the city-states. So when you won the Olympics or won a prize or an event, you won a wreath of branches. That was the prize, called a laurel wreath. And so we're going to write that in here. A wreath of branches. And you'll see here in just a second. And we still celebrate the Olympics. It was started up again many years later, and we celebrate the Summer Olympics, which is what the Greeks, many of the same events the Greeks celebrated. But we honor those every 4 years. So here we're going to do every 4 years. Okay, you can pause that if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our Brain Pop video for today.
Dear Tim and Moby, in history, we are learning about the Olympics. Can you give me some facts? From Sasha. Well, the modern Olympics has a long history behind it. The first Olympic Games were held every 4 years in ancient Greece during the hottest days of summer. There were a lot fewer events than we see today. Right, it wasn't on TV then either. The ancient Olympics were a religious festival dedicated to the supreme Greek god Zeus. The first games, way back in 776 BCE, had just one contest, the foot race. There weren't any gold or silver medals. The winner received an olive branch. Over the years, new contests popped up, like the javelin, jumping, running, discus, wrestling, boxing, and the chariot race. Sacrifices were made to the gods during competition, and if any wars were going on, they were put on hold to preserve the purity of the games. When the Romans conquered Greece, the Olympic Games took a turn for the worse. Slaves were pitted against wild animals, and the games sort of lost their noble meaning. They were abolished after Rome became a Christian society. The games were considered a kind of pagan worship. There were no more Olympic Games for about 1,500 years. But in the 19th century, a love for all things ancient Greek was sweeping Europe. As part of this revival, the first modern Olympics were held in 1896. Fittingly, Athens, Greece hosted the Games. Tom Burke of the United States won the very first event, the 100-meter dash, in 12.5 seconds. Well, runners have gotten faster since then. These days, the record for the men's 100-meter dash is under 10 seconds. Anyway, after those first games in Athens, the Olympics kept on growing. In 1924, the Winter Games were officially added. Sports like speed skating, ice hockey, and skiing were among the events. 16 countries competed in the first Winter Olympics. Nowadays, more than 90 nations participate. Yeah, that's true. Women weren't allowed to compete in the original Olympics, or even in the first modern Olympics. That changed in 1900 when women's events were added in the sports of lawn tennis and golf, and women were allowed to compete with men in sailing. Swiss yachtswoman Hélène du Poitrail, British tennis player Charlotte Cooper, and American golfer Margaret Abbott were the first 3 women to win Olympic gold medals. It took a while, but nowadays women compete in all Olympic sports. The Olympic flame was introduced in 1928, and the first torch relay took the flame from Athens to Berlin in 1936. Each time the Olympic Games are held, the torch is lit in Greece. According to tradition, a mirror is used to reflect sunlight and light the torch. Once lit, it begins a journey to whatever city is hosting the Olympics that year. The Olympic flame burns throughout the competition and is extinguished at the end of the closing ceremonies. The 5 rings symbolize the fact that the Olympics are open to all athletes from all parts of the world, of any color and nationality. The Olympics are a way to promote friendship among all participating nations. Instead of fighting on the battlefield, we compete on the field of sport. It's the ultimate honor for an athlete to win an Olympic gold medal. Athletes train for years to win those medals, Moby. Besides, what sport would you compete in? They don't do that animal thing anymore.